Middlesex County Ethics Board. I guess it's 3 o'clock. And would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Notice of this meeting pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-10 and 6 has been complied with and shall be entered upon the minutes. Bridget Quinn, roll call.
Robert Dudas Jr.
Present.
Daniel Frankel.
Present.
David Himelman.
Present.
Robert Seeger.
Present.
And I know Al is out, and we wish him well with his surgery. Old business, as you're aware, there's consideration by the board of a complaint filed by Mr. Charles Gravel. And I know that we have our counsel, Mr. Vignola, who's going to give us a brief summary of the complaint and recommendations as to disposition and or how the board should handle this matter. Vignola?
Sure, thank you. I think everyone's gotten copies of the complaint as well as Mr. Carr's answer and his amendments. So the allegations are that in connection with earlier filings of his financial disclosure statement, that he failed to list all of his income and that obviously constituted a violation of his filing requirements. The response to that from Mr. Carr after he received a copy of the complaint was to admit that in fact that was correct, and he then also filed amended disclosure statements for each year, including the income that had been omitted from the earlier filings. And principally, it looked like the income that was omitted dealt with some pension benefits that he had failed to disclose, and his explanation was recognizing that he failed to do it, and in fact, it was just an omission on his part, which he has now corrected. This board has a right to, there's much investigation necessary, but as a result of the complaint, this board has the ability to determine that there was a violation and to determine a penalty under Section 11. Actually, it's not Section 11. Under Section 12, the violation of the Code of Ethics shall be resulted in finding not less than $100 or more than $500. And there's also a provision for further discipline, including removal of the appointed officer or recommended disciplinary action. So it would appear that Mr. Carr has admitted his responsibility, corrected the omission, and has, if you will, subjected himself to the board for the purpose of imposing an appropriate penalty. I think, again, this is just my opinion, and obviously it's an opinion that the board can accept or reject. The whole purpose of the Financial Disclosure Act is for the public to be aware of information that, by way of income source, that may affect yours or anybody else's vote as a public entity. And therefore, the omission of something substantial, for example, that I'm working for somebody who has an application pending before you, would be a very serious event. The omission of pension information, in my opinion, and it's for you to decide, is not a significant violation in terms of an omission, because the pension funds are certainly not going to attempt to influence anybody's vote in connection with any matters that are pending before this board. So consequently, it's for the board to determine what the appropriate penalty would be. I would also say that although the ordinance speaks in terms of mandatory, it says shall impose a minimum penalty of $100 to $500. You also have the right to consider Mr. Carr's explanation, and if you want to impose a lesser penalty or a greater penalty or suspend the penalty, that's in your discretion. And that's basically what the position is. Basically the case that you have to deal with this afternoon.
Thank you, Mr. Vignola. Any questions or discussion on this issue? Well, I've had an opportunity to review the complaint as well, and I've discussed it with Mr. Vignola. I agree with counsel. I think, quite frankly, this was, in my estimation, an oversight, and failing to disclose that pension. I don't think it rises to the level of a significant or serious violation. Oops, sorry. My recommendation would be to simply impose the minimum penalty and suspend it, quite frankly, and not seek to collect that. And the other important factor is that he admitted, that the violation occurred and corrected it. So those are the two salient facts as I look at it. And those are just some of my thoughts, but welcome the board's input or any positions which may differ than
Can I
that.
just ask for clarification? So
Sure.
You say the pension, I just want to make sure, so on this new amended return, or disclosure statement, would this be under the, which one is it under, just so I make sure I'm making myself clear?
The Old Bridge Board, his wife was employed by the Old Bridge Board of Education.
Right.
And he had been employed by Con Edison. I think that had not been disclosed earlier.
I'm sorry, Con Edison was the one that wasn't disclosed?
Yeah, I think that was correct.
I think it's correct.
And that's a pension that he gets from there?
Correct.
That's my understanding. Any thoughts or?
I would tend to agree with both council and chairman. Recommendation. I'd like to hear if anybody has to say anything, but that would be my recommendation.
I think Al's the longest serving member on this board as of right now.
I believe that's correct.
He's met, or he's been at pretty much 99% of the meetings. Years ago, 8 or 10 years ago, we had some pretty nasty cases that came before us. There was a lot of politics involved, and I thought he handled himself extremely well. And everybody makes mistakes. Even you, right, Counselor?
Everyone makes
Mayors
mistakes.
make a lot of them.
Absolutely.
And
I agree.
he admitted up to it, and I agree with everybody. I think he's a nice man. I don't know him really that well outside of being here, but I think he serves the board well anyway.
Okay. Any thoughts or?
Mr. Chairman, unfortunately, I really don't know Mr. Muzikar, but based on his response, which I had an opportunity to read, that Bridget forwarded to me,
Right.
it seemed like he owned up to his mistakes. I think they're honest mistakes. I don't think he was necessarily trying to hide anything from anyone, realistically, not to mention the fact of the Con Ed and his pension, which certainly should not influence him in any matters that would ever come before this board. So having said that, I agree with the chairman's recommendation.
Okay, terrific. So, Mr. Vignolo, at this point, I guess we can have a formal motion.
Yeah, it should be a motion, I guess, to, number one, to adjudicate that that he's violated the act and to impose an appropriate penalty as this board may determine.
Okay. I will make that motion, and do I have a second?
Second?
Okay. Bridget, roll call.
Okay, so just to clarify, so
So we're good.
you're gonna, there's a determination that he's violated the act and that a penalty of the minimum penalty be imposed and suspended.
Correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Robert Dudash,
Yes.
Daniel Frankel,
Yes.
David Himmelman.
Yes.
Robert Seaver.
Yes.
Okay, the resolution carries. Next item is new business and correspondence. For you, we don't have anything, correct? All right. I don't think there's any additional actions at this point that are warranted, so we will open it up to the public for comment.
Good afternoon, members of the board. Charles Cradaville, New Brunswick, editor of New Brunswick Today. Thank you for considering my complaint. I must first ask, though, if the members of the board have taken the oath of office.
As far as I understand, we have, but I know Mr. Vignolo did bring oaths just in case that there were any oversights with regard to us executing those. So I don't know whether we'll have to check the county counsel's office to confirm that.
Okay, so it's
I
possible.
believe so.
It's possible that the board members didn't take the oath of office.
I believe that we have, but
Yeah.
we have to just double check that.
Okay. Well, I'll let you know that I filed an Open Public Records Act request with the county to check that, And I was told that there's only one responsive document, and it is indeed Mr. Musiccar, the longest-serving member, who is the only person with an oath of office on file. I have a copy of it right here. He signed it on December 19th, 2012, and there were no other responsive documents. So what that tells me is that only Mr. Musiccar has taken the oath of allegiance in office, and I would suggest that the other members must do so before you take any action.
Well, I'm not, first of all, I'm not sure that that's correct. In my opinion, I'll defer to counsel, but, the oath of office doesn't necessarily mean that you're not validly sitting as a member of the board, but again, I believe the matter can be rectified immediately.
Okay. Will it be done during this meeting?
Sure.
Okay.
Right now.
Great. I think that's a necessary step, and I'm concerned about the vacancy on the board as well. So I know there's one vacancy. Mr. Musiccar is out today, but there's also a man named Reverend Martinez, who I can't recall ever seeing at a meeting here, and I'm deeply concerned about that. I guess he's resigned his seat, but
My understanding is I think there have been prior occasions where we've had meetings by teleconference upon notice, and I believe he's called in on a couple of occasions, but I'm not sure what his situation is. We can certainly follow up with that.
okay. If I may just have another minute to
Sure.
cover the issues that we're covering today. So, respectfully disagree with suspending the sentence as honorable man as he may be. He made a mistake, and the board should send a message that you're going to hold yourselves accountable as well as everybody else that is bound by the code of ethics. So. I understand your logic behind it. Can I ask, was there a council producer report, or was it just kind of verbal, what he said?
There was no report.
Okay. Can I get copies of Mr. Musiccar's response, or a copy?
I don't see any reason why you shouldn't be able to get a copy.
I should recall.
It'd just be something that you would need to file in a request.
I couldn't get it today from one of the board members.
No, I spoke with Jean Marie Scola, who is our Oprah attorney, and she said that you would have to file an Oprah request.
Well, I respectfully would suggest that the best practice would be for the complainant to get a copy of the response prior to the meeting. It would be, I've filed ethics complaints before in other places, and that's typically what happens is I'm entitled to get the response to my complaint in advance of the meeting. I think that's best practice.
Mr. Craddock has filed a lot of ethics complaints at a lot of different entities, and each one has a different code of ethics and a different process. And every process requires a different manner in which the complaint is brought before the board and investigated. This complaint would have been assigned to a committee member for the purpose of investigating it, but there was no need to investigate it. Consequently, there was nothing to submit to Mr. Craddock to contest by way of his allegations in his complaint. Consequently, he didn't get a copy. In another circumstance where there would be a hearing, he would have gotten a copy and been prepared to present whatever he wanted to present today to refute that. It wasn't necessary.
Thank you for the explanation. I just want to close by saying that there's some simple things the board can do to improve. Would be having a presence on the internet, a website, so that people can find you and know what you do and know what the code of ethics is if they're bound by it, or if they are interested in filing a complaint. It would just be common sense to have that kind of a location on the Middlesex County website. I'm sure it's possible. I've brought this up before. And I'd also like to see the board have an email address and a mailing address that are made clear to the public so that the complaints and correspondence.
My understanding is that the Middlesex County website does have cross-references to the ethics board and what it's permitted to do, and I believe refers to the county ethics law, correctly?
I've sent you a link to the ethics board portion of the county website, and it lists the members, it lists my contact information, and I'll have to look into whether or not it has the code of ethics on there. But I know we do have the site that I sent you the link to before.
All right, I'll double check. I don't recall, but I'll double check that. And I think the code of ethics belongs there. Just lastly, it was mentioned that it's a pain to park in New Brunswick during the business day. for these meetings. I couldn't agree more, and I think that, you know, the board should seriously consider revising their schedule of meetings to have the meetings at, you know, 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. when it's much easier for people to make it, first of all, but also easier to park on this particular block of Bayard Street. So again, thank you for considering my complaint and hearing me out, and hope you have a great rest of the summer.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. See you in a couple months.
There are no further business. I believe I'll take a motion for adjournment. please.
What about the oaths?
Well, we're gonna, can we sign them, should we sign them now? Or
Sure, well, we'll administer the oath and you can sign them. And
Fine.
That's it.
Fine, so should we administer
We
them
can,
now? or-
we can administer them in private.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we don't have to do it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was told it would be done during the meeting.
Said,
I don't know who told you it would be done during the meeting.
Just now.
Well, no, I think what I said, we would effectuate this today. I don't think it's necessary to be done during the meeting.
It should have been done before you did the business of the
Wow.
board. It must be done in public. At the very least, at this point, with the failure to take the oath, it must be done before you close business.
I understand your point, and we've closed the public portion, and we're going to deal with it in accordance with how we see fit. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
A second? Roll call, please.
Robert Judash?
Yes.
Daniel Frankel?
Yes.
David Himmelman?
Yes.
Robert Cedar?
Yes.
Okay. Wow. Meeting is adjourned.